$10 for admission, we lowered from $5 for, and this is something another thing is an increase in digital media. Something I realized when planning events like Professor Spotlights was these events cost a lot of money. They were not hard, but laborious to organize, and students had to be on campus at the exact location at the exact time. So we're now shifting to more digital media things, which eliminates our two barriers to entry, which is cost and availability. So these students can access this digital media at any time when they're laying in bed and they're distracted in class. And these events cost us, little to nothing. So that's something I'm proud of. And of course, we kicked the year off with Ross Lynch, which was the fastest selling event SAPP ever held. We sold 1,200 tickets in 5 hours. And it was exciting. So thank you all very much, and I'm excited for the question.
Thank you very much for proceeding to the question.
You emphasize the success of the Tiny Desk concert and Professor B, your professor. How do you plan to build upon or diversify the types of programming offered to maintain students' engagement in the future?
This is a great question. My first thing is I'm looking to establish a digital media committee. Currently, we're running a lot of our digital media through our comedy community, but there's other events like Smack Greenfield, which is coming up all night. Tickets are limited, so if you're interested in that, please find them soon. So that's something I've been looking into is establish a committee that is solely there for digital media events. We also have been kind of tinkering with the MAP department. If you don't know what that is, it's the Marketing Production Student Association. And we have been working very closely with them in organizing, updated applications for the Student Association and hopefully inquiring their supplies and their technical abilities in organizing digital media and keeping fun, fresh events, definitely prioritizing them on our
With the goal to move events to Friday and more accessible locations, how do you plan on building logistical challenges, such as space availability and competing events on campus?
That's a great question. So specifically, when I was talking about moving events to Friday, I specifically meant that concert. For one thing, I hear about the concert that class, or the class the next morning, and I put on both spring and fall surveys this year. Which day would you like spring fling / fall concert on? And over 80% of people said Friday. I think moving fall concert to a Friday will increase ticket sales, increase profits, but make spring fling better, and it's just better for everyone overall. Which actually we started working on that this week. I've been speaking with Brian Rose, Mr. Simic at the event center, and our athletic director on making sure we can pull that on Friday. And the other part of your question was, what exactly?
How do you deal with space availability and competing events?
So right there, the Anderson Center this year had a booked schedule. So when we came to them and said, can we hold X event at X time, they said there's literally not one available day. So we thought outside the box. We reached out to the forum, we organized an event there, making it more accessible for students off campus, which is the majority of undergraduate students. Things like that.
And looking back at your first training platform, what have you implemented that you're most proud of? And how will the main goals be accomplished in your next term?
So last year, the ticket issue was multicultural accessibility and programming. So when we looked into that, the last thing I wanted to do was take attention and promotion away from actual multicultural goals, putting on certain events. So what was my solution? It was to set aside a fund of $5,000 in which any organization, but specifically targeted to multicultural organizations, could ask for money, they send a bid, and we give them money. We donate money to multicultural organizations. I also sit on the CLF committee, which gives out grants and a certain amount of money for organizations that ask for bids for money for their goals.
Okay. I'm going to open open up the floor for two questions.
That's a good question. And I think I'm going to say, I'm not happy about this answer, but I'm gonna have to say Mabel. Or chicken. Those are two good places. I also like CFL. It's not controversial, and I get extra mayo.
Who's performing at Spring Fling this?
What a phenomenal question. It would honestly be a disservice to everyone here to spoil this surprise. I do wish I could tell you, as of right now, there's not a finalized contract. I was in a meeting for 2 hours trying to figure out exactly how we can finalize this contract. I will say, this is in my personal opinion, I think this is the biggest name since Nelson. That's in my personal opinion. It could be argued, this is not my personal opinion, it could be argued this person's bigger than Gospel. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm very excited. We worked very hard on this event, and it is May 3rd. It's a free concert. Couldn't be cheaper. It's going to be a very beautiful.
Who would be your dream artist to have at a fall concert, let's say?
Fall concert, that's a great question. And to be honest with you, I'm going to say, I'm going to say Baby's Team.
You have no.
If anybody has a chance to hear Family Ties live, I highly recommend it. Maybe this is not like yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Let's hear a closing remark from our candidate, Atticus.
Well, I want to start this off by thanking the dynamic duo of Caitlin and Ornella. Now, you people don't know who Ornella is, or what the work the DPF office does. You really should thank them, write them a letter, do whatever you can. They are the backbone to the SA, and I couldn't do my job without them. I also want to say how truly grateful and appreciative I've been given this position. To be able to put on events that bring people joy makes me the happiest junior at the school, I believe. And I also want to say, sadly, I'm going to be stepping out right after I finish here. It is my birthday, and I have to go get dinner with my family. Well, best of luck. Don't be
Thank you. Happy birthday, Atticus. That concludes the Vice President of Programming debate for tonight. Moving on to the Vice President of Multicultural Affairs debate for tonight. The Office of the VPMA shall coordinate, oversee, and chair the Intercultural Awareness Committee. They promote and facilitate a diverse, equitable, inclusive, and multicultural university community. I would like to introduce the candidates for Vice President for Multicultural Affairs. Ro Aliha to the stage, all of whom I will invite to make their introductory statements.
Hi, everybody. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, bro. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's late on Thursday. Oh my God. It's food. Okay. So, my name is Mazuba Romaliha. Most people know me as Rome, and I'm running for the Vice President of Multicultural Affairs. I'm a junior majoring in economics with a minor in education, and I'm from the city. I grew up in New York. I grew up in Brooklyn, but I'm living in Queens right now. But I also spent a chunk of my childhood in Bangladesh, actually. So I feel like also, okay. growing up, I actually traveled with my mother a lot. Like I went to Thailand, Nepal, Canada. Okay, not Japan yet. Sorry, I meant to say Vietnam. But throughout all of these, I actually gained a very deep rooted respect for culture and just like making sure that people get to express their traditions and heritage because if you don't water your roots, you won't be able to grow. Some of my previous experiences where I was the treasurer of Jump, where we help 100 to 150 kids come to being the Predevelopment Mentors. We're trying to increase college enrollment rate for at-risk NYCs. I was also events coordinator for PGS, where we cultivated a sister club where women can learn about their bodies. I was also a program and projects coordinator for BPMA, where we had the pleasure of doing our 8th annual multicultural extravaganza, where we literally celebrated all the cultural arts on campus. And we also did the first ever multicultural professional development summit in collaboration with MRC, President's Cabinet, all of that jazz. Anyways, all this to say that my passion for empowering people and enhancing culture just speaks through all the roles that I've been involved in. And if elected as VPMA, I plan to cultivate a culture centered around the 4 C's: communication, collaboration, connection, and community. So communication, we all know in the multicultural community, it can be very divided and cliquey at times, and I aim to bridge that gap. I want to include a newsletter to like spread out the words of multicultural events to multicultural orgs so we can have more people attending. There's also a lot of initiatives I would like to continue, like our befriending and the buddy system. For collaboration, I want more orgs to collab together, which I hope to do so through grants and also being the liaison between orgs. So orgs would collab with orgs that they haven't like previously collabed with, being like creating new ways, you know? So connection through collaboration and communication, you automatically connect with new people, and I want to foster like interconnectedness between the cluster community. And yeah, through this, hopefully, a very united, Koreans and multicultural community. Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, I welcome Justina Tam.
Hi everyone, my name is Justina Tam. I am currently a junior majoring in biology, and a little about how I got involved in the Student Association. So freshman year, I really wanted to find belonging in college, so I signed up to be a minute taker in the Student Association. In this role, I got to learn how Congress ran, how legislation got passed, how every committee ran, like minute taking for them, seeing how they took the initiative and made plans to solve the issues that students were facing. In sophomore year, I wanted to do more, so I got involved and applied to be a receptionist. Chances are, if you're on e-board, if you ever needed a package, a voucher, an invoice, you probably see my face. And now as a junior, I am in the president's office as the chief of staff. This has genuinely been one of the most rewarding experiences I've had. From speaking to so many orgs and being able to just solve some of the issues they've had for years. One being holiday off form, where students can take holidays off that are not recognized by the university, and they won't be penalized because they missed class for that. As the VPMA, I want to use all of these skills to act now. A for advocacy, C for collaboration, and T for tributes. Advocacy. I really want events that focus on empowering students. For one, I have 2 events specifically, one being a Multicultural Development Summit. It was the first time ever done this year, where we brought diverse faculty and staff and alumni to talk to students and empower them and show them their career journey. The other was my own initiative called Own the Night. It was a party-safe thing to better inform students about how potential red flags in social settings and how to navigate that. In collaboration, I'm really excited about this. I really want to continue the collaboration budget. So for clubs who haven't collabed in 3+ years, if you collab, I will give you money towards that event. It will make the event bigger and just increase student attendance. The second thing, the Be Friendly program. I really want students who are from different cultures to connect together and bring each other to general body meetings, increasing attendance for orgs, and also building a support system within students. Lastly, the Pamphlets. So I want to use the automated Google Calendar of all of the events happening in multicultural orgs, print them out each month, walk around with my cabinet to the union, to the marketplace. We currently do this at the president's office. It's really fun just to ask people if they know about the essay, but then to give them a pamphlet saying, hey, this Friday you should go to this event because you've worked so hard to create all of these events. Lastly, tributes. I think it is one thing to have multicultural orgs, it is another thing to celebrate it. I want a space in the underground unions that has a mural to celebrate all of your diversity. It's super important and I want incoming students to acknowledge that. As your VPMA, I will act now. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now proceed to the questioning period. As I said, candidates who would like to issue a rebuttal statement must raise their hand and feel that they're yielded by our moderator. You will be given 2 rebuttals, a maximum of 1 minute each allocated for each candidate. Essentially, rebuttals, other rebuttals also count within this limitation. Yes.
As VPMA, you'll play a key role in mediating relationships among diverse student groups, especially during significant events. How will you ensure fair representation and foster open dialogue between these organizations?
Okay, so some of the initiatives that I didn't get to talk about was that I wanted to do a monthly fireside chat with the MRC Center, and this I wanted to do to literally facilitate an open dialogue between students so they can come and voice their concerns, so they have a safe space without judgment or without people feeling, or without them feeling like they will have backlash or like, we've all faced private but not confidential. So I want to create a space for students where they can truly voice their concerns so we can genuinely address them. Because most of the times, what ends up happening is that we just want our voice to be heard. And what we need to do is focus on our similarities and celebrate the differences instead of focusing on the differences that keep us apart.
So I'm also an apartments assistant, and I think one of the biggest things in terms of conflict resolution is communication. I really want to continue this through collaboration, like with the collaboration grants and everything aimed at just giving students the opportunity to talk to each other. One of the biggest things we've done in the President's Cabinet is making all of our e-board cabinet members like go and interact with the club and do an event. And I really want to continue that, just to foster a community saying, hey, we are here for you. It's not just out of our convenience. We actually want to participate in this. We are here for you. And in order to continue doing that, I want to facilitate like the pamphlets and just having more conversation, having more ideas and discussions. Thank you.
How do your personal experience play a factor in your perspective of student life? Will this play a factor in your focus as VPMA candidate?
So when I was a freshman, the first thing my suite mates did was bring me to one of their orgs, and I became a dancer for the Bengali Student Association, and that gradually turned into performing at Isu's Tamasha, Pal's Barrio, being a model in Henna's first ever fashion show. And while that wasn't something I ever thought I was going to do, it is a place in college where you will have so many opportunities and so many people you will never have the time again to be a part of. And I want to continue that channel. I have fallen in love with so many opportunities and all of these spaces, and I want that for incoming students. I want them to feel a belonging even in spaces they never thought they were going to find it. Thank you.
How did your personal experience play a factor in your perspective of student life? Will this play a factor in your focus as a VPMA candidate?
So one of the things that we study in philosophy is how we can't ever escape who we are and how self-centered our ego has to be, even if when we experience things from another perspective, we still experience it from the first hand. And I think that's why it's so important to initiate collaboration and communication. And as for my personal perspective, I feel like with the vast experiences that I've had and with the amount that I've traveled, it's truly led me to open my eyes to how the world works in a way where it's like I have seen poverty and I have seen wealth. And what we need to do is we need to come together to bridge that gap. We need, especially at times like this, we can't just talk about equity and not do things that are equitable for our students. So as UPMA, it will be my concern and honestly my first priority to clear out these concerns and address.
As BPMA, it is expected for you to be involved in the many multicultural organizations on campus. If a disagreement were to occur between your office and an organization, how would you settle differences with the orgs you would be elected to represent?
Women's first.
Okay, this is gonna sound repetitive, but communication is literally the biggest key when it comes to conflict resolution. Usually what ends up happening is that one person wants them to be heard and the other party also wants to be heard. And what needs to happen is we need to come to a middle ground where we're meeting both parties. It needs to be a win-win situation. Too often I've seen conflicts go into a win-lose situation where one person is walking away with everything, the other person just walks away with nothing. So as BPMA, it is honestly because I'm responsible for the multicultural orgs. If I'm having a conflict with them, it's my responsibility to ensure that they are okay and that I'm doing my best to support that org in itself. So it depends on what the conflict is about, and I will do my best to address it because what we're here for is to represent our student voices, not to silence them. So.
So as an apartments assistant, one of our training is facilitation. And if I had a personal disagreement with an org, I would try to focus on the common ground. Chances are we want the same thing, we're just saying it differently. And I would focus on that. I would say, hey, you want space, I want to give you that space. Like a lot of orgs don't have org attendance. I want to give you that. Like what is the one thing I can help you do that will make a change? And yeah, I really just want to hear everyone out and I want to find the common ground in all of it. Thank you.
We'll now take some questions from the audience.
Yes. Sandy will go first.
So, you give examples from your current position on campus of how you promoted diversity and why that's unique to your experience and why you're proud of it.
Well, thank you for the question. As a junior, I have been in the Emerging Leaders Program for all 3 years. So one of the biggest things is it helps with like incoming students or transfer students. And I think they're also like one of the biggest things. In terms of diversity, it's also culture, but international students, like all of these other avenues of people. So one of the biggest things we've done in the President's Cabinet was the Multicultural Development Summit, but also an org mixer where we invited a bunch of orgs to just sit and talk to each other and do bingo and like play all these activities. And I want to continue facilitating that. Like I think it's a really beautiful environment to have all of these orgs and to celebrate that and acknowledge it. Like, yeah, it's just such a beautiful thing. Thank you.
So, okay, full transparency, I've actually had to take a step back from a lot of things that I was doing because I was diagnosed with cancer earlier and I had to get surgery for it, but I'm okay now, don't worry, no, I see all the faces, it's okay, don't worry, I'm okay, that's why I'm here. But, one of the things, like throughout my experiences that I've talked about, my biggest passions for advocacy and empowerment, whether it be for youth or women or people of color, is genuinely to create that space. We can't talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion if we're not creating that space for students to actually express themselves. So I feel like with all of my experiences, I've connected with a lot of parts of myself that I wouldn't have if I didn't have the opportunity to use words. And I want to ensure that students who are coming on have the space to do so as well.
And we'll take one more question.
What do you believe is the role of the Vice President for Multicultural Affairs in responding to national or global events that impact the campus community?
Well, honestly, the thing we have been talking about representation. I feel like the Vice President of Multicultural Affairs, we are literally responsible for all the cultural arts on campus. And if it's not like when national crises like what's happening right now happen, where we're literally being marginalized and there's initiatives being taken where it's like they're literally trying to erase a part that exists here currently. I feel like it's our responsibility to ensure that not only are we representing the orgs, we're listening to what they're going through, we're creating that space for them to come to us without a fear of backlash, so we can make sure that the space they have here is ensured and continued. Because one of the biggest things is genuinely if people won't come to you if you don't have a space for them to come talk to you. And if they're afraid of you, that's also why I want to create I want the communication between student orgs and VPMA to become better so they can come talk to us. Yeah.
I think in a time of a lot of darkness and turmoil, to be the BPMA is to be a light and like a pillar, to really just be like, hey, I know I can't solve this, this is beyond me, but I want to support you. If it means DEI budget cuts coming to Binghamton, I will find another grant for you. I will find another way. I am very steadfast on the idea of if there is a will, there is a way. That is my mindset on a lot of things. And I want that passion to go through. If you are passionate about a project, if you're passionate about your orgs, and all of you are, you're here right now, you're representing that, and I want that shown. I want that acknowledgement of all of your hard work, because it takes a team, a dedication, just a bunch of time to show all of that, and I want to show up for you. Thank you.
Now let's hear closing remarks from our candidates. Justina, please come up.
So as a junior, I think I have just done and tried so many clubs and orgs, and I have been I've loved this community. I love Binghamton for all its diversity, all its fun, all its just everything. And I want to continue representing that. I want to be a vessel that uplifts you. I want to use my platform to support you. I'm not here to overpower you. I am not here to try to overtake anything. I just want to support whatever you're doing. It's a lot of work to hold large scale events and to make general body meetings. Trust me, I know. And I want that shown. I want all of your hard work to be recognized. And as your VPMA, I will act now. Thank you.
So shout out to Irene, because I also did not have the whole speech prepared. I was looking waiting it off. I was like, oh my God, scrambling. And I actually got diagnosed with severe ADHD today, but we're not talking about that. So I would like to bring it back to the fact that right now, with everything going on, genuinely what happens and whoever wins, I hope that the multicultural orgs on this campus continue, because I found a home within them. One of my biggest things when I was coming to Binghamton is one of my mentors had said, you bring all of yourself to Binghamton. So don't shy away from parts of yourself because you feel like there's not a space for it or it might not be accepted. So as VPMA, I hope to ensure that we have that place and that it is continued, and to foster more connections, because we realize, so we can be united at BU.
Thank you. That concludes the SA Vice President for Multicultural Affairs debate for tonight. Moving on to the SA Vice President for Student Success. The Office of the Vice President for Student Success coordinates and oversees advocates which counsels and represents any student requesting such representation when accused of violating Binghamton University policy. They also coordinate and oversees the Student Association advocacy relating to academic matters and are responsible for advocacy on behalf of general student access. I would like to introduce the candidates for Vice President for Student Success, Christina Donders and Lauren Wilmer, all of whom I will invite to make their introductory statements. I welcome Christina Donders to the podium.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christina Donders, and I'm going to be the next Vice President for your student success. Before we get into how I'm going to serve you, I'm going to tell you guys why I'm going to be effective at doing so. I'm a two-time SA Congress representative, where I've had the opportunity to take on so many different initiatives, my favorite being advocating for documented dreamers at Binghamton University. I'm a former secretary to the Vice President of Student Success, where I've taken on initiatives such as an accessibility social media campaign to show clubs how easy it is to be accessible on social media. I took on an election social media campaign last year, which contributed to the record number of LOIs being submitted in student association history, which is pretty cool. I know that off is front and back. I'm the current Speaker of Congress, where I've taken measures to improve Congress transparency, reaching students where they are on Instagram. You guys should all follow that, by the way. Additionally, I'm improving communication between clubs and Congress. It was clear that there needed to be a more clear pathway between clubs and Congress, and to combat that, I implemented Congress satisfaction forms, which can be found on the website. Finally, I'm the president of an SA chartered org. I've seen the other sides of those weekly reports. Ultimately, I have the experience in the SA. I'll be effective from day one. To put my platform in one sentence, I want to help students help students. There's only so much external organization can do. And while the Student Association is an organization of so many passionate students who want to serve all of you, it's just that, an organization. I want to give students the tools they need to support each other, because that's what contributes to student success on campus. To do this, I have 3 pillars: mental health, civic engagement, and student outreach. I want to create peer support groups similar to the SA's Title IX Peer Advisors, which is housed underneath our BPSS office, to help students find and get the support they need. Currently, the school has like 8 pages of just resources for students' mental health. Gotta go faster. Who no one's looking through all that. I want to help students help each other. Additionally, it's clear that students want to see more opioid overdose prevention trainings and mental health first aid trainings. I'm going to collaborate with university and clubs, and I'm going to get those. Additionally, I want to host the Congress GIM right at the beginning of the year to empower students to get involved in leadership roles on campus. When I first got here, I didn't think I had anything to add to the conversation, and here I am. Finally, I want to host a Complain to Us initiative, named Subject to Change. I want people to come to me, and I want them to tell me what they tell their roommates at the end of the day when they go home. I want them to tell me about their professor who didn't give them an extension on their homework. I want them to tell me about the D outside of C4 that is so freaking slippery. I have almost died on that thing. Ultimately, I want to be a vessel for the students that students know that they can go to get change done on campus. And I have the experience, I have the resources, I have the connections on campus to do that.
Thank you. I welcome Laura Wilner to the stage.
Correction, my name is Lauren.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Wilner. I'm a junior studying environmental studies and philosophy, politics, and law, and I'm running to be your next Vice President of Student Success. I want to continue what my predecessors have done in this position while also implementing new changes to make our campus better. I have a few areas of campus life in mind that I want to improve, but I also want to form a lot of my initiatives around anything else that is important to others. Beyond the areas of campus life I have thought of improving, I also want to challenge myself and better the campus in ways I had not thought of before by listening to student feedback during my time as BPSS. I also forgot to include my speech, a little bit about myself, so I'm going to quickly do that. I'm the Director of Policy right now for the current BPSS. Forgot to mention that in my speech, that's important. I'm also the President of Binghamton Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm the outreach director for the Food Recovery Network, amongst other things. Okay, so I want to go through the areas of campus life that I want to improve. So first is sustainability. My goal, I have a goal of cutting 10 to 20% off of rent for students living in Binghamton through community solar. I know it sounds impossible, but I'm working on it right now, and one of the reasons I want to become the next BPSS is so I can ensure the longevity of this. I also want to establish a permanent bus line to the farmers market through grants. Next, I want to increase the efficiency of the food recovery process in dining halls to make sure our food waste is not too large. I have the connections and experience of being a part of the food recovery process to do this. Second is support for disabled students. I want to get ghost credits for SSD registered students with mental disabilities as well. So this would give students the opportunity to register for classes earlier, so they don't have to worry about their medication not being affected at night for their classes. Also, I want to increase the marketing of SSD to incoming and current students. I also want to work with SSD to create more curated services for students with disabilities. Third is civil dialogue. I want to promote the importance of civil dialogue by facilitating discussions between groups on campus with polarizing views by partnering with on-campus organizations with similar goals hosting these events. There are, there's an on-campus org that does this. I want to partner with them. Fourth is mental health. I want to host an event partnering with Late Night that was called the comedy distress event, full of laughter, comedy, sketch comedy, and can be something a fun place for students to go, and also promote our mental health resources. Next, I also want to help underclassmen. I want underclassmen to be as successful as they are when they become upperclassmen. Through this, I want to create an anonymous chat service where upperclassmen and underclassmen can communicate and ask questions that an advisor can't answer because they did not take the class. 6 is food insecurity. There are students on this campus that suffer from food insecurity, and it's not just a lack of food, but also lack of quality food. I want to build a stronger relationship with the Food Recovery Network and the food pantry, to help combat this. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now proceed to the question period. As stated before, if you'd like to issue a rebuttal, just raise your hand until you are given by the moderator. You are given 2 rebuttals with a minute each for rebuttals. Other rebuttals will also count within this invitation.
What do you see as the single most important issue impacting student success at Binghamton, and how does your campaign specifically address it?
Can you repeat the question? I missed a word of it.
Yes. What do you see as the single most important issue impacting student success at Binghamton, and how does your campaign specifically address it?
Okay, so I think there's so many issues that affect students, but I think the root cause of this is students not being aware of the resources that are available to them. There are so many people who are administrators and students who have great ideas or initiatives that are already put into place that people don't take advantage of. I was a victim of this. A lot of resources I used to say I did not use my freshman year because I did not know about them. I want to solve this by making sure these students know about these resources. I'm going to do this through tabling. I want to do this through social media campaigns like we do, and I also want to go to the students. I want to go to the club meetings. I want to partner with ResLife. Just campaigning. I've gone to many e-board meetings for clubs. It's 10 minutes of my time. I think that everyone in BPSA should be doing stuff like this because connecting to the students, going directly to them is the best way.
I truly believe that the biggest issue that students face in higher education today is what is going on in Washington. It feels like every single day there's a new right that's being taken away from me. How I'm going to combat this? Through collaboration. That's a really big part of my platform. No one can do everything by themselves. I'm really excited if I have the opportunity to use BPSS to work with the next BPMA to ensure that students know their rights. Because guess what? Just like that 8-page list of resources, mental health resources on campus, no one really knows what their rights are, which is something that's really interesting. Also, I think just increasing collaboration between all of the SAE board as well as administration, that's how we can make sure that students are as successful as possible.
Given your respective platforms, and with a growing mental health crisis in Binghamton, how will you help students find the available mental wellness resources on campus and become more comfortable using them?
So I've talked about this a little bit so far. I'm really looking forward to implementing an initiative similar to the current Vice President for Student Success as Student Advocates, as well as his Title IX Peer Advisors, just a confidential group of students who are really well versed in all the mental health resources we have on campus, as well as off-campus resources. Because, you know, no one can know everything. It can't be an expectation that an individual student knows every single resource there is on campus, because I learn new resources every single day, and I have been in the student association for a while now. So as I said before, I want to help students, and this is how I'm going to do that.
Joshua, can you repeat the end of the question?
Yes. Given your respective platforms, and with a growing mental health crisis in Binghamton, how will you help students find the available mental wellness resources on campus and become more comfortable using them?
Thank you. I think we need to get more creative with the way that we make these, what's are called, known to students. As I said, I think we need to be going to the students more. We expect the students to come to us when we host these events, but first we need to have a good mix of us going to them and them coming to us. That is why I think we should be, what they're called, going to club meetings more, e-board meetings, using ResLife, the way they connect to students. And also, as I said, the mental health event that I want to do with Late Night, I think that's a great place for students to find out about resources. We do this with other areas of campus life, and it works out really well. I think we need to do this for mental health resources as well. But yeah, find a good mix of us going to the students and the students coming to us to find out about these resources.
What will you do to ensure that your initiatives have a lasting impact beyond your term?
So how I would do this is pretty simple, is ensuring that they have longevity by the people, what's it called, for when people come and replace me. So let's say I'm VPSS, the new VPSS is elected, they have a team of people. We need to ensure that those people that are taking over for us are going to continue our initiatives. Obviously, if they want to, we can't hold it against them. But so like so for the VPSS, I did a chocolate vote event, where I hosted an event to increase the awareness about voting. And after I did that, I had to write something called an SLP about all the details, how to do it, and then that gets passed on to the person next year who's supposed to host that event. So doing things like this, facilitating it through like simple measures like this is what we do and what we're going to continue to do.
To ensure that the things in an initiative I take on have longevity here at university, well, for starters, this peer support group I'm looking to create for students, I'm going to pass a piece of legislation, and the next VPSS will be forced to take that initiative on. Next, I'm really, really excited about everything I plan on taking on, and I'm going to make sure that everything is so successful that the next office has no choice but to take it on, because it becomes something that the office does. I know that's something I'm really, I have big steps to fill. Luke has done such a fantastic job in the role with his multicultural voting fair. Like, people think of multicultural voting fair, they think of that free food, and they think of the PSS office, and I'm looking to take on initiatives that follow that kind of process.
I'm now opening the floor up to 2 questions from the audience.
If you were elected into your role, because both of you are talking about promoting student success, and like for instance, Christina, you talked about these resources, like pages. How are you going to make these resources more known, like the ideas that you're looking at from that kind of Christina,
So I fully recognize that a lot, probably honestly like 90% of students don't know that the student association is a resource that they can go to. honestly, I would love to see the student association do more tabling. You know, I am a hostess over the summer. I know how to drag people in and make sure they really listen to me. That's just for the everyday student. What the student association does do a lot is we are constantly working with club leadership. And honestly, I really hope to encourage club leadership to tell their constituencies about the wonderful resource that the student association is. Because ultimately, I can tell someone that the student association is pretty cool. They will probably not believe me because they haven't seen it themselves. So yeah, just working with, first of all, tabling, and then working with club leadership to tell them to bring their people in, because people will listen to their clubs.
Okay, so as I said before, going to the clubs, all that, I said it like 2 or 3 times. Also, what I love about the BPSS office, specifically how Luca does it, is we do we do the normal stuff, the tabling, the social media campaign, but we do it in a creative way. So we're promoting sexual health resources. We had dildo ring toss. I'm gonna keep having fun ideas like that, and that's how we're gonna. We did the dildo ring toss, and then there was someone made a sketch about it in the sketch comedy show. I think we told you this. In these creative ways, this is how people are gonna hear about our resources if we have fun with it.
I guess my question is, how would you engage students who don't necessarily have trouble finding a community? They don't know how to reach out to you. How would you engage?
I actually love this question, even though this other person's the opposite of me. I think the best way to do this is to start early. So right now I'm a tour guide, and I think those tours, those admitted students day orientation, that's where it needs to start. And what needs to be there promoted is first the clubs. Resources are very important, they're gonna be, talked about there, but clubs, the community, because I think once you find a club, you find your community, then it's like a domino effect of you getting exposed to campus. So yeah, definitely working with admissions and all that stuff is something I plan to do and are working on right now as my position.
If a student came up to me right now and was like, "Hey, Christina, I'm nervous. I don't know how to get more involved with student organizations on campus," my first thought would be, "Hey, what kind of organizations do you want to be involved in?" And then I'd be like, "Hey, I'll go with you. I'll go with you to this club. Let's break that ice together. Let's make it happen." But then my second thought is, hey, in the student association, collateral damage, we know a lot of people. I know people from all different groups on campus, so many wonderful student leaders. And I will do my very best to connect that student with someone in an org they're interested in being a part of and having them go together. Because guess what? That's one connection right there that they can continue, that they can take with them and continue with throughout their time at university. I remember when I first came here, I was so shy. I was like, I don't think I have a place here. I knew I wanted to be in Nitwits from day one, but I wasn't sure where my niche was. And honestly, if there had been someone like me now who could have just helped break that ice, I think that would have been pretty great.
Moving on, let's hear closing remarks from our candidates. Christina, please tell me.
So I want to thank you guys all for coming out tonight. It is now 9:30 on a Thursday evening. I know a lot of you guys probably have midterms tomorrow like me. And even you representatives, even though you guys definitely had to be here. Ultimately, I want to help you guys help each other because there's only so much that the student association in and of itself can do. Finally, I love people. I love how to do guys. Maybe I was a little bit too heartfelt. I want to help you guys help each other, and I would be so humbled and honored to be able to serve you guys next year as vice president.
If you vote for me, we're going for someone who's going to be able to deliver on these initiatives. I have the passion and the drive to not only do it, but do it enthusiastically. I'm the type of person who's very drawn to this type of work that comes with this position. Being a part of the current VPSS cabinet, most of my ideas and work that I do going into this job is not done sitting on my laptop checking tasks off a list. My best ideas come out of nowhere, forcing me to drop whatever I was currently doing to type up my ideas before they leave my head, and then bothering Luca as soon as I can to bounce ideas off of him. Also, I know it works given my experience from being in the essay for 3 years. I'm not here to promise to deliver on the same things that other people have before, just to also not deliver. Me as your VPSS, you can expect to see real change, and a VPSS who is eager to listen to her fellow students. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the SA Vice President of Student Success debate for tonight. Moving on to the SA Vice President for Finance. The Office of the Vice President for Finance trains, assists, and coordinates all who deal with the Student Association's finances. They implement the financial procedures and recommend necessary changes in the financial policies to Congress. I would like to introduce the candidate for Vice President for Finance, Bella Meza. All of whom, just Bella, come on up.
Hi guys, my name is Gabriella, but feel free to call me Bella. So a little bit about me. I'm a junior, I'm studying financial economics, and then I am also a current Vice President of Finance Assistant. I am the treasurer of the Association of Latino Professionals for America, and I'm also the secretary of the Econ Club, and finally I'm on the OCCT Board of Directors. So I want to talk a little bit about my platform. So I just want to promote positive change for the Student Association as well as the VPF office, and continue what they're doing right now. So my first pillar is communication. So I want to implement a student feedback system for students to offer anonymous feedback. If they're a little bit nervous to talk about the operations of the VPF, I'm open to, the student feedback and changing things need to be changed. As well, I want to continue the assistant positions. They're really great to communicate with me and get communication done a lot faster. And my second pillar is innovation. So I want to implement an online treasurer training and exam via Edpuzzle for students who are unable to make the in-person training or who prefer to take it on their own time. Thirdly, I have reliability. So I want to be a trustworthy source for all students who have questions. I believe no question is a dumb question. So I just want to create that support for students. And then finally is efficiency. So on OCC Board of Directors, I get to see how the buses run. So I would love to implement a bus line or continue the bus lines and add more times for buses so students are able to get to campus and from campus efficiently and safely. So yeah.
Thank you very much. We're going to proceed to the question period.
How do you plan to build upon the successes that your predecessor started, and what do you plan on changing with that?
Yeah, so currently in the VPF office, we really use those assistants. They're great at streamlining communication, so that's something that I really want to continue. Making sure that, we have the business assistant, we have our travel assistant, so we can get things done a lot faster because a lot of things have deadlines within finance. So getting things done faster, having those assistants, having people that they can reach out to when I'm personally not in the office. Students can reach out to these assistants and they'll get answers right away. So that is something that I definitely want to continue. As for something that I want to change, I definitely want to include student feedback for the operations of the Vice President of Finance office. We work with so many treasurers and presidents and organizations that we just want to serve you the best. So yeah, definitely that student feedback system.
Clubs and organizations can often be met with challenges for understanding correct financial procedure and the rules in relation to finance. What methods will you use in order to make this process more efficient, understandable?
Yeah, so definitely revamping that treasurer training, kind of tackling the most common questions that we see would be super helpful in getting the treasurers and the presidents and the organizations to understand the complications of the VPF office because it is a very complicated system to work through when doing certain things. So definitely revamping that training while doing it in person and online, so we can have that for students who are a bit confused, as well as just having just being open to so many different questions. Again, as I said before, no question is a dumb question to me. I will answer any question that you have on any operation of the VPF office.
The role of BPF includes a variety of tasks, such as being the chief financial officer of OCCT, the head of human resources, and helping oversee the SA businesses and services. How do you plan to handle and balance these financial responsibilities?
So specifically for OCCT, we have a great board of directors and a lot of professionals that are in charge of OCCT. So in handling the very complicated system that it is, I will always come to the professionals with questions. Even when I'm a little bit confused, I'm so ready to ask questions. I want to know everything. So being able to ask those questions and ask for assistance from those professionals is super important. So that is something that I'll definitely be doing. And then also, again, with the assistants, just making sure that, if I'm a little bit stressed out with how much stuff is going on, being able to hand off some of those responsibilities to the assistants while maintaining, communication with the organizations is super important. So yeah, definitely communicating with those OCCT professionals and using those assistants wisely.
I am now opening up to 2 questions from the audience.
I know you don't really have competition, but since you said you're an assistant in the VPF office, do you honestly feel confident that you will be able to handle this role, comparing off of Caitlin's work and also her head assistant, Frank, and all of their work that they do there? Do you feel confident that you can continue that work and do well?
Yes, I feel super confident. So as an assistant, I work a lot with Caitlin. She does a great job in informing us on how everything works. When I have a question on the simplicity of maybe just like a voucher question, just asking, what does this event title mean? That is super important. So yes, I do have a lot of experience with that, as well as OCCT. I am on the board of directors, so I do sit in on those meetings about insurance, as well as just hiring new bus drivers. So I feel very confident from my assistant role and that position as well to be able to take on this.
What's your greatest strength and biggest weakness?
I would say my greatest strength is being able to ask questions. I think that when you have the ego to be able to say, hey, I actually don't really know what this means, I think that is my biggest strength, to be able to ask those questions and not feel belittled by that. And then I would say my biggest weakness is taking on a lot of things. I'm the person that says yes to everything. I want to do everything. But sometimes I do have to take a step back and realize that, hey, this is a little bit stressful. So again, with those assistants, I would be able to delegate work and make sure things get done efficiently. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I am an assistant to the current VPF, Caitlin. And I just want to say that being a part of the VPF office is so fulfilling. I've made so many friends, and I just want to continue that communication and just like being a friendly environment for my assistants as well as the students and the rest of the student association. And yeah, I'm really excited to be able to hopefully be your next VPF.
Thank you, Bella. That concludes the VPF debate for tonight. Next, we shall talk about the position of Executive Vice President. The office of the EVP oversees all non-financial administrative matters relating to SA chartered organizations, businesses, the communications department, and is also the primary liaison for student organization use of the Be Engaged platform. I would like to introduce the Executive Vice Presidential candidates, Batia Robin and Nicholas Ginsburg. Please come to the podium. please come to the podium for your introduction. So I'm going to switch it up. Some of them have asked for introducing them and then just go straight to asking them. I welcome Nicholas Ginsburg to the podium.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicholas Ginsburg and I'm running to be the Executive Vice President of the Student Association to help bring organizations back to the core of the Student Association. My introduction to the SA was my sophomore year. I was sitting in Hinman Dining Hall and I got an email from the OC3 master list. It said, "Do you want to run for Congress?" I remember sitting there with one of my friends and he said, "Don't do it. Absolutely don't do it. And if you do, don't join FinCo." So what did I do? I joined Congress and I joined FinCo. And that was one of the best choices I've ever made in my college career. Now I get to say that I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee, where I've seen over 200 organizations present to me, ask me for budgets to do all of their operations and achieve their missions. And it has been one of the most rewarding experiences in my college career. Meeting with all these organizational leaders, helping them achieve exactly what they want to do by giving them the money to achieve it. And that's why I want to help bring organizations back to the core of the Student Association as Executive Vice President. Even though the Executive Vice President handles non-financial operations, every single operation costs money. Understanding the finances behind every organization, understanding the financial needs of every organization will help lead me into helping them achieve their operations in my role as Executive Vice President. I understand what they need to spend money on, what equipment organizations have come into discretionary for, and how we can expand SA rentals to have that equipment so organizations no longer need to spend their money for it. So my platform is built around two pillars to help bring organizational support and organizational efficiency into the SA or organizations in the EDP office. The two biggest missions I want to achieve if I were elected to the EDP would be to, one, expand SA rentals. SA rentals is the equipment rental process through the Student Association. It has cameras, it has mirrors, it has almost anything you could think of that can help organizations not spend money on equipment that they're only going to use once. I want to expand the amount of equipment in SA rentals. I want to create a platform that organizations can see what equipment is being taken and when it will be taken. The other initiative I want to take over is UFest, where organizations are sat during UFest and Club Carnival and helping them have more of a say in where they sit. Right now, the Student Association puts organizations into different categories on our end. I want to put that back into the student organizations. I want student organizations themselves to label themselves as multicultural or label themselves as special interest, label themselves as political. Right now, I'm vice president of mock trial. Mock trial, we compete at different competitions, but we're labeled as a political organization through the Student Association. So we're sat with college Democrats and college Republicans, even though we have inherently no political backing whatsoever. I want to put it back on the organizations to put themselves in categories where they feel they belong at UFest and Club Carnival. Thank you.
Next up, I welcome Batia Raven.
Hi everybody, my name is Batia Raven. I use they them pronouns. I am double majoring in philosophy, politics, and law, and women, gender, and sexuality studies. I am the current executive vice president. Before that, I was the internal affairs chair of on Congress, which works very closely with the EDP. And before that, I was a Congress representative, and I sat on the internal affairs committee and was the vice chair of IA. Outside of the SA, I was on the board of Commitments with Christina. The EDP was a role that I wanted to do from really early on, and that was one of my main reasons for joining internal affairs and then becoming the vice chair and then the chair of the committee. Because of that, I'm really passionate about it, and that was the reason that I decided to run last year and why for EDP and why I decided to run again for EDP this year, because I felt that I had the needed skills and could do well in the role. Because EDP is largely an administrative role, the skills that are needed are organization, efficiency, and communication. And I have demonstrated this year that I have those skills. I'm organized, I keep on top of my work, I'm efficient, I get things done, I deliver on my promises, and I get clubs the help they need. And lastly, I communicate well. I respond to emails within 24 hours. I have long active office hours when students can come and talk with me. And these skills are further shown through some of the things that I've accomplished this year. I created a storage grant for clubs with storage to get boxes and shelves from my office in order to organize their space. I moved Club Carnival to a Sunday so that observant Jews could participate, and I expanded the event to include 50 more clubs and student vendors. I connected clubs with resources on campus. If you're on an e-board of a club, you've probably seen my many emails that I send out to the clubs. And lastly, I created a forum where clubs can borrow equipment from the SA. This directly ties into the things that I want to accomplish next year. I want to expand the amount of storage space that the EVP office has to offer to clubs, and I'm actually currently in the process of getting more storage space for the clubs. This year, I moved Club Carnival off of a Saturday, and I plan to continue to work with the SA e-board to move as many SA events as possible off of religious holidays. Lastly, I plan to buy more equipment that clubs can borrow from the SA. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the questioning period. As I stated before, you can, if you'd like to issue a rebuttal statement, please raise your hand. You will be given to a moderator. You will have 2 rebuttal statements each, and then a rebuttal to that other rebuttal will also count in this invitation. So,
With the increasing number of student organizations on campus, there is a growing competition for meeting space and resources. How do you plan to address concerns related to space allocation and ensure that all clubs have the resources they need to succeed?
So this is the main reason that I want to expand the amount of storage space that we can offer to clubs, which is why I'm currently in the process of doing that. And furthermore, last year, working with the previous EVP, Andy, we actually allocated more space than ever to clubs. And then also throughout the year, when clubs have come to me with a concern that they need more space, I have allocated that space as well throughout the year. So yeah, just increasing the amount of space that we can offer to clubs.
With an increased amount of space, one of the biggest initiatives that I want to take on as EVP is taking one of those storage lockers that are in the basement of the union, getting a larger one, and having a provisionally chartered organization locker. Right now, provisionally chartered organizations are not allowed to have any sort of storage space on campus with the current rules and regulations. I want to change that because while these organizations may not have had long-standing influence on this campus, they may not have been on this campus for that long, they can still amass a little bit of equipment that they want to store not in the president's apartment, but somewhere on campus. So I plan on working with provisionally chartered organizations to find a space on campus where they can all share a large storage locker that while it will be shared with multiple organizations, it's somewhere that they can put something and it's better than having nothing. Thank you.
So the current way that space allocation works is that only fully chartered organizations can apply for it, but there are exceptions that can be made. And actually this year, there was a provisionally chartered organization that came to me. They used a lot of drums and they had large equipment, and they asked me if they could have space, and I actually allocated them space. So there are exceptions that can be made and have been made in the past if there is a need, if they've shown a need for that space.
I've had many conversations with group leaders of new organizations that have been starting on campus, and there is a growing need of more space for these organizations. Not just on a special need by case basis, but one that is granted to every single new organization on campus is a need for these new organizations to thrive and succeed on this campus, as we all want more new, diverse organizations to succeed on this campus.
Student organizations rely heavily on digital platforms like Be Engaged for membership management and event planning. what changes or implements would you push for to enhance the user's experience of these platforms? Nick?
Yes, so one of the initiatives that I want to take on specific to Be Engaged is automated event approvals for recurring events. A lot of organizations, especially ones that have space on the third floor of the union, have their weekly lounge hours that they may be buying snacks for, and they have to attach Be Engaged events to those vouchers for it to be approved by the BPF office. So one thing that I want to do is for organizations in the beginning of the semester to have the ability to submit a Be Engaged event for a recurring event that happens weekly or monthly, just so that they don't have to submit 10 different Be Engaged events, and it's all in one process or one workflow to make organizations more efficient in getting their processes done on Be Engaged.
So currently, it is already possible for clubs to submit a recurring event on Be Engaged. I think the main issue is that clubs don't fully understand how Be Engaged works. At the Fall Leadership Conference that I held, part of that was informing clubs how Be Engaged works, but I think if we offered more optional trainings throughout the semester on how Be Engaged works, I think that could be really beneficial as well. Also, I've always offered to clubs that if they have any problems with Be Engaged or they don't know how to use it, they can come to me and I can explain it to them, and I've had some clubs take me up on that as well.
As Vice President of Mont Carl, I attended the Fall Leadership Conference that was hosted by Vontia, and I sat through the Be Engaged training. And it wasn't taught to organizations how exactly they can make those recurring events. It wasn't taught to organizations how they could do all these processes on Be Engaged to make them more efficient. One of my main pillars of my platform is reorganizing the Fall Leadership Conference to help organizations be more efficient, not making this a long, drawn-out process, but also making it to the point of these issues that organizations have, like the recurring events, and making sure that it is that knowledge that they're gaining at these leadership conferences that will specifically help them.
Yeah, so the Fall Leadership Conference was hosted in the first 3 weeks of the semester. That was, to be quite frank with you, the first large-scale event that I had ever planned. And so I didn't exactly know what I was doing. And since then, I've heard a lot of clubs saying that it was way too long. And so throughout this year, I've talked with my staff. I've also spoken to Pete Nardone, who's the director of the union. And something that we're thinking about implementing in the fall is a shorter Fall Leadership Conference and then a series of optional training sessions throughout the semester that the clubs can go to based on what they believe their need is, so that they are getting the training that they feel that they need.
Large-scale events such as the Club Carnival and UFest are greatly contributed by EDP. In your role, how would you improve on these kinds of large-scale events?
Yeah, so that was one of the things that I really wanted to do coming into this year, was just improve on Club Carnival and UFest. That was actually one of my platforms last year, was to try and move UFest off of a Saturday and onto a Sunday. And when I took office in May, I approached the university administration about that, and they unfortunately turned me down. The executive vice president has kind of only a nominal role in planning UFest, so they said no. But in response to that, I decided that I would move Club Carnival, which was an event that's completely under the executive vice president's office, to a Sunday. And then I also expanded that event to include 50 more clubs, and I included student vendors. And I would like to continue those things next year.
My main objective in improving UFest and Club Carnival for students on campus is giving them more of a say within the event, giving organizations more of a say in where they table, giving organizations more of a say in how it operates. I think that is the key to having a successful Youth Fest and a successful Club Carnival. Because at the end of the day, these events revolve around highlighting our student organizations on campus. So reaching out with organizations, meeting with them, seeing what worked in previous years at Youth Fest and what didn't work for their organizations, and reaching out to new prospective students is my goal. Giving them more of a say in where they table, where they're sat, and how Youth Fest and Club Carnival are operated would be my main objective. Thank you.
I'm now opening up to the floor for 2 questions.
Yeah, so I was wondering, how will you implement avenues for offices to gain their space back after being asked to share, especially with an increase in a lot of organizations using their offices more as storage and not as a place for meetings?
So with the expanding amount of storage space on campus in the basement of the Union, my goal is to take organizations that are on the 3rd floor of the Union that aren't having enough general body or executive board meetings in their offices to get moved to those storage lockers so it can be opened up to more organizations that are going to utilize that space efficiently. So with expanding space in the Union, that's going to open up more possibilities for the 3rd floor to be used more as an office space and less as a storage space.
Yeah, so, I mean, space is limited, you know, everyone is vying for the same amount of space. So I think really just making sure that clubs understand that, like, if they are sharing space, like, that's not only just for them. You know, they have to keep in mind that there are other people there. And, you know, if there are clubs that seem to be underutilizing that space, then that space would get taken away, which has been done by the office in the past. And if we see that that's happening in the future, we will do something if we really need to.
The role of the EVP deals a lot with non-financial administration matters, as the committee said in one of the questions, with a specific emphasis on forming and chartering new groups. What administrative experience do you have in this regard?
So as I stated before, when I was a Congress representative as a freshman, I sat on the Internal Affairs Committee, which is the committee that charters new clubs. And then I was also the vice chair of that committee as a freshman. As a sophomore, I was the chair of the Internal Affairs Committee. And so I was responsible for leading that committee and ensuring that clubs were chartered. And now, as the current executive vice president, I am step 1 and the final step in the chartering process, so that I ensure that new clubs that want to get chartered have all their paperwork together, have everything in order, so that we can then move to the Internal Affairs Committee. And then after they are provisionally chartered for a year, they come to me again to ask for a full charter, and I make sure that they are contributing to the community.
In my role as chair of the Finance Committee, I oversee the New Org Interim Fund budget, which is a budget that is specifically given to provisionally chartered organizations that are new on campus. So I have met with over a dozen provisionally chartered organizations this year alone, and including last year, likely over 40 provisionally chartered organizations that have new needs on this campus that are seeking their own budget for the first time ever. I am one of the most important steps in these brand new organizations' budgets. The brand new organization's life, which is their first budget. You can't really do anything without money. So I have a lot of experience working with new organizations and seeing what exactly they require from the Student Association. Additionally, when I was president of the Rainbow Pride Union, I worked in the Rainbow Coalition, which worked with a lot of brand new provisionally chartered organizations last year. So I have a lot of experience working with brand new organizations on this campus.
Thank you. Moving on, let's hear your closing remarks. Nick, come up first.
I hope today has shown that I have a love for the Student Association. It's one of my favorite things to do on campus is help students. And I hope within the next year, I can help students in the Executive Vice President office, and I can bring organizations back to the core of the Student Association and helping organizations as much as possible from the EVP office by bringing efficiency and support. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out and taking your time to be here. It's 10 p.m. right now on Thursday, so kind of pretty that you're here. In summary, my three main platforms are expanding storage space, moving SA events off of religious holidays, and buying more motorable equipment. I have the skills, experience, and passion to do this job, and I hope that I can be your EVP next year as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and that concludes the debate for EVP tonight. Moving on to our last position for the day, SA President. The President of the Student Association shall coordinate, oversee, and chair the Executive Board. They are the primary representative and spokesperson of the Student Association. As mentioned prior, applause and audience interruptions are highly discouraged except right now, as I would like to introduce the presidential candidates, Joseph Kornblum and Mackenzie Straskins. Joseph, please come up to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for being here this late. I want to start by doing something most presidential candidates don't do, by complimenting Mackenzie on the amazing presidential position she's been in and what she's done for the university. I believe that I have the ability to bring Binghamton a fresh perspective as president. I will build upon past administrations and work to give every student the best experience possible. For those that don't know me, I'm Joe. I'm a junior studying business administration. I've been a member of SA Congress. I spent a year in Clinton, a long year, but the season's terrible. And currently, I'm the president of the Off-Campus College Council, which I've worked to rebrand and create events for all students. Apart from my professional aspirations, I'm the president of the DRS Club. This is a club I started 2 years ago, and it's a recreational club that I saw was missing in Binghamton, so I brought it to this. I'm running to bring fresh ideas, amplify your voices, and make Binghamton a launch pad for our successes. I believe the SA should reflect the energy of the student body, all 14,000 plus undergraduate students. It's amazing how on campus this day, we see people every day, familiar faces, and every so often I see someone from season 1 of Binghamton, my freshman year. And I think back that everyone I've met has been a privilege, and I've learned something from every single person. As an out-of-state student coming to Binghamton, not knowing many people, I think that's pretty cool. That's the reason I'm running, because I know we can do more to help every student thrive. In all of my leadership positions, I work to push for open dialogue and a positive change. As OCD president, I've rebranded the organization and logo and connected off-campus students with resources they need. I orchestrated events like speed training, movie nights, trivia events, and provided off-campus students with the outlet to connect with friends. Now onto my platform. First, professional development. We're here to land that internship, job, and set ourselves up for the future. So I will work with pre-professional organizations in SON, Decker, and Watson, in all the schools, to provide off-campus students, all students with the needs they need for their future. Mental health. It's important to acknowledge and prioritize to maintain a healthy state of mind. I will push and organize check-ins with professionals, and I'll make it my priority in my administration to make sure every student has the help that they need. I'll create a campus safety advisory board within the SA to provide access to any student who needs their voice heard and make sure that dialogue is front and center. Thank you to everyone who's here tonight. And I'm really looking forward to not only answering your questions, but also the questions I will field every day as president.
Moving on, I welcome Mackenzie Graspins to the podium.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming out and thank you Dan for this intimate support. I really do appreciate it. I am a junior here at Binghamton. I'm double majoring in statistics and data science with the latter degree being through Harvard College's individualized major program. I'm also the current president here, so I've done quite a bit on campus. But even prior to being president, I was the chief of staff, so the former president's right-hand man, or woman, I guess. And so I think I have a really unique and holistic perspective on what it takes to be president and what the role means. During my time as president, I've learned quite a bit about myself, about the role, about the university, but one of the most important lessons I've taken away is how important it is to connect with students. While I was running last year, I thought I had a bunch of amazing pillars. I had a bunch of things that I was so passionate about. But after meeting with organizations in the fall, I realized that the initiatives that I thought campus wanted to see were not necessarily initiatives that students actually wanted to see. And so my goal for that year switched. It became to make sure that all initiatives that my team and I took on were student-driven and student-wanted. And so I launched an initiative where we met with various clubs and students every month to get feedback on our initiatives and hear about in what ways they want to see campus change. We walk around the union, we speak to students, we hand out candy, and we ask them, what changes do you want to see? And so again, I have a very holistic perspective on what it means to be president. And next year, I want to focus on expanding the clubs we outreach to, the places that we walk around. Like I said, right now we walk around primarily the union, but next year I want to go to different dining halls. I want to walk around the spine, just to ensure that we are representing all of campus and getting as much feedback and perspective on what changes and initiatives we should take on as possible. I want to continue some initiatives that I've taken on this year. So for example, with the DPMA office, we had Multicultural Professional Development Summit. I want to do that again. I want to continue advocating for getting proper accommodations for students who celebrate holidays that are not recognized by the university. I want to continue our Recycling Regalia project. I want to continue connecting students from underserved high schools to student leadership on campus, connecting student clubs with the admission center so that they can actually table at Admitted Students Day. I want to continue org mixers, so bringing organizations from all across campus together to foster collaboration. But there are some initiatives that I have thought of that I do want to take on next year. And I'm very excited to talk to orgs and get feedback on them and continue to brainstorm how these can become actualized. So I want to help revitalize the VPMA's club calendar, so ensuring that all clubs can have proper access to know when large-scale events will be going on. I want to update the OCCT website so that there is live updates on where buses are and if they will be stopping or if they're full. I want to expand the SA's presence downtown. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. We're going to now enter our final question period. As I stated before, if you'd like to issue a rebuttal, please raise your hand and you can yield it. And then again, you have 2 rebuttals with a minute each. These rebuttals, 2 other rebuttals will also count for this limitation. So.
All right, your first question. As president, you need to maintain a strong and healthy relationship with the university administrators and faculty members. If you are advocating an idea championed by the student body and are met by an unreceptive admin, how would you navigate the situation to achieve your goal? Mackenzie, you're up first.
Okay, so I've actually experienced this. So as I kind of stated before, I am currently working to get proper accommodations for students who want to celebrate holidays that are not recognized by the university. Now, going into this year, my plan was to create a 10-page check proposal to propose to university admin that would create a website that students could use to systemize how they request the holiday off. But after proposing this 10-page document to admin, they thought that there were other ways to go about it. And although initially disappointed, I realized that just because they didn't want to go about it this way doesn't mean that's a complete stop to the initiative. Instead, I worked with administration. I continued to meet with them to revitalize the initiative. We spoke, we talked about ways that we can go about it. And so now instead, I'm working with Faculty Summit. They oversee what gets put in syllabi to create a blurb in syllabi that says to strongly encourage professors to make those accommodations. And I will continue to do the same next year. Thank you.
Yes. As president, you will need to maintain a strong and healthy relationship with university administrators and faculty members. If you are advocating an idea championed by the student body and are met by an unreceptive admin, how would you navigate the situation to achieve your goal?
Well, with all my past experiences working with the administration, I'll maintain the relationships I currently have and also bring the students' needs to the forefront. So not only will I make sure that all the students' needs are met, I'll also then go and speak with the people needed to speak to and work on those exact issues. So whether it be an issue that I ran into with Office of Council, where a student came to me and they needed housing. Unfortunately, they lived in a dangerous area. I was then able to go to the off-campus housing administrator and speak with her directly on how to resolve this issue. Now, when it comes to the administration for a large-scale event, I plan to do the same thing. I'll go and bring all the issues forth, speak with the rest of the SAE board, and make sure that all these accomplishments are met.
Your next question is, what is your overall vision for the Student Association, and what are your top priorities as elected? Joe, you're up first.
Awesome. So my overall view, as I said before, Mackenzie's done an awesome job as president. I plan to come in. I have three main priorities. One is to maintain mental health, making sure that we have check-ins for students who are going through something. Because obviously, given the state of the university, we all have to be there for everyone. You never know what someone's going through. So I've launched these stigmatization campaigns to make sure that students are aware and are able to speak their mind. Next, I launched a safety advisory board within the SA Congress to make sure that students feel welcome and there's no significant issues that they're going through. And finally, I make sure that everyone's voice is heard. So whether it be something that they're unwilling to say or they're not feeling it, they be able to do that.
Yes. What is your overall vision for the Student Association, and what are your top priorities as well?
Thank you. Okay. I think in the ideal world, the Student Association would be a body that students are well aware exists and completely understand the resources that can be offered to them through this organization. Now, of course, as I've said, increasing transparency and talking to students is one of the best ways to do that, and that's how I plan on implementing that, which is why it's one of my top priorities for next year. As I said, continuing to meet with orgs, different kinds of orgs, sitting down, sharing our initiatives with them, but also getting feedback from them, asking what changes do you want to see on campus? From big changes to maybe a multicultural professional development summit to, can you help me book this room? I didn't do it in time, and now I have no place to hold my event. Any change, any problem, I want to be able to solve, and I want them to feel comfortable coming to us with. I want to be able to walk around different spaces other than the union and speak to students. You know, organizations are super important. We are a student association. We charter all these organizations and they're under us. But it's also important that we speak to individual students to get the best perspective possible.
Third question. Going into next semester, the Student Association Judicial Board will be faced with a critical shortage of justices and few potential candidates. How do you plan to work with the Student Association and the student body to ensure that the SAJ Board has the capacity to oversee and hear student issues? Mackenzie.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can you just repeat one more time?
Yes. Going into the next semester, the SA Judicial Board will be faced with a critical shortage of justices and few potential candidates. How do you plan to work with the Student Association and the student body to ensure that the SAJ Board has the capacity to oversee and hear student issues?
Yeah, so I think, okay, well, first of all, hopefully they don't have a shortage next year. I'm currently in the process of conducting interviews. The first round in becoming a Chief Board Justice is you do a preliminary interview with the president. So by the end of the semester, those positions should be full. But to ensure that the J Board is able to operate and is able to fully provide their services to the students, I think it's about educating them on what the J Board is and what services they provide. So if, in case some of you guys are not aware, when an organization has a problem, they can submit a grievance form to J Board. And you know, this is a great resource for students to use. It's a third party, an unbiased party that they can go to solve these issues. And so informing orgs of these resources that they can use is super important, which is actually something I've been doing. I go to different administration offices and get information from them, get resources that they want students to understand, and communicate those back to the students, back to clubs through meetings with them. And I plan to do the same thing with J Board. Thank you.
Absolutely. Going into next semester, the SA Judicial Board will be faced with a critical shortage of justices and few potential candidates. How do you plan to work with the Student Association and the student body to ensure that the J Board has the capacity to oversee and hear these issues for the students?
So it's so important that we have a full J Board in order to go through all the grievances that we have a lot this year, especially. So I first go to the other E Board members of the SA and discuss situations in which where we can reach out to students willing to participate. I reach out directly to clubs as well, because it happens to be that when you send out emails, mass emails to students, not everyone texts them. You have to reach out specifically to clubs, because within those clubs, they'll have their students who are able and willing to discuss. And then in terms of maximizing the opportunity to get as many justices as possible, we put extra pressure within the SAE board to make sure that everyone's willing to get forward on these bids.
All right. As president of the Student Association, you will be the face of the Student Association representing the entire student population. Many students are divided on several political and social matters. How will you bridge this divide and handle additional controversies that may arise? So,
Well, I personally believe that regardless of your local belief, everyone has different points of view on campus, and being a representative of all students, I'm a president for all 14,000 different personal beliefs students. I'd say that the first thing that I work on is speaking directly to the students coming to me who want to hear tell me what they have to say, and from there I go directly to the administration and speak with them on how we could work this out. After that, I also work to maintain relationships with everyone, all students, and they're always welcome to come with me and check in.
One more time. At this point, I'll say it 5 times. As the president of the Student Association, you will be the face of the Student Association representing the entire student population. Many students are divided on several political and social matters. How will you bridge this divide and handle the additional controversies that may arise?
Yeah, so, okay, I've been saying this a lot, but just being face-to-face with students, with organizations, increasing communication, and making sure they feel comfortable coming to us with these problems. There's only so much that the Student Association can do if we're not approached with the issues that arise. If there's a controversy on campus and students want to see it settled, there's only so much we can do if it's not brought to us, brought to our attention, if we're not asked to intervene. And so I want to make sure that students feel that we're a resource that they can utilize, not an organization that's out to get them, or an organization that actually doesn't do anything, but rather an organization, or specifically me, the president, the face, who's here for them, wants to hear them out and work with them to find a solution to any problem and any controversy that may arise.
I'm now going to open up questions to the audience. We'll go over there. Yeah.
Hi. First of all, you guys are great, so wonderful job both of you. My question's, it's a little bit of a, I don't know, that's a question. For you, Mackenzie, would there be anything that you would want to do or that you would have done differently now in retrospect in your campaign? And Joe, what would you do differently if you were in Mackenzie's position? Joe,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am very proud of the work that my team and I have done this year. I feel that we've accomplished so much, and I'm very happy with all that we've done. I think next year I want to take maybe 3 really grand initiatives that seem kind of impossible to do, but that I really want to tackle. This year, I think I took on maybe 10, and I'm very excited that my team and I were able to accomplish all of them. But next year, I want to take on maybe less, and specifically initiatives that are a little bit more difficult. Maybe ones that students will say, "There's no way they can do that." But I'm excited to prove them wrong and to bring change in this capacity. Thank you.
So I've had a lot of opportunities to work on different events through OC3 on campus council, and I feel as if I were elected president, I'd be able to continue the trend of creating events. Something I specifically want to work on is creating an org mixer-like event with professional clubs. So the GIN sort of style, where you have all the Watson clubs, you have all the Western clubs, Decker clubs, so students can actually go and hear them out. This would be different than the GIN because you're having all the clubs together under the presidential position, sending it out as an email to all the clubs. And then in terms of what I continue to do is events, like I've been doing with OC3. So events that bring people together, networking events, and making sure that students have a good reputation to get out with and have fun. Thank you.
I'm gonna take one more question.
I'm a student leader for a large recreational organization, and I do a lot of collaborative events. So communicating with these other recreational organizations, they acknowledge the lack of support from ESSA, or acknowledgement of exists. Last year, it feels like there's been a large focus on multicultural organizations. I was wondering if I could try to help recreational and special interest organizations for the upcoming guide.
Yes. Yeah, so I especially have a deep love for recreational clubs, as I mentioned. I was president of the GeoGuessr Club, which I started 2 years ago. GeoGuessr is a huge passion of mine. I'm able to exactly know where I am. So it's really cool. Something I speak about with recreational clubs in specific, it's really important that we're actually able to make sure that every club is valued and not specifically single out one club. But if we're going off clubs such as the Video Games Association, where they need certain things met, such as a lot of advanced movements. I guess you guys are joining the Pokemon Go Club. And we're going to be able to advertise that and make sure you guys are well known among the club community.
I do want to say we have been trying our best to meet with all different kinds of organizations, not just multicultural. However, we have 250 plus organizations on our campus, and I work with a team of how many? Oh yeah, so even more than I thought. And I work with a team of 6 individuals, so it is impossible for us to meet with every single organization that is on campus, which is why it's important that we open up other avenues for students to feel comfortable coming to us. Of course, I would love to meet your organization. That would be fantastic. In the case, though, that there is an issue that arises in the moment that you need to communicate to us, I want you to feel comfortable coming, just marching into my office and saying, Mackenzie, I have this issue. Or reaching out to us through social media, or reaching out to any other member of the board, or maybe one of my staff members. I want you to have multiple avenues to pursue, not just me coming to you, but also I want to make sure you feel comfortable coming to me with any issues that arise. Or if you just want to talk, if there's a change you want to see on campus, let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you both. Moving on, it's time for closing remarks from our presidential candidates. Mackenzie, come on down.
Okay, so before college, if you would have told me that I would be the president of the student association or in student government to any capacity, I probably would have laughed at you. I am a statistics major. I study computer science. The student government was never something I would have thought I considered. Often I ask myself, how did you end up here? And honestly, I still don't know. But whatever that reason is, I'm so incredibly grateful. The lessons I've learned about myself, about being a leader, about working on a team while being in this role have been unimaginable. And I'm additionally, the passion that I've garnered for advocacy and that I've discovered in myself has been incredible. I can't imagine now what my life at Binghamton would have been like if I wasn't advocating for students, if I wasn't constantly meeting with them, meeting with admin, making actual change on campus. And I'm so incredibly excited to do the same work next year. Thank you.
Thank you everyone so much for listening to my speech or my questions. If you guys haven't heard or haven't got all your questions answered, feel free to look towards my campaign platform, SA website, or follow me on Instagram at Joseph.SA, at Joseph.SA. As well as, I want to thank you guys for coming out this late. My 3 policy proposals were, I want to make sure it is a safe campus for everyone, so that initiating that campus safety board, as well as I want to make sure everyone is heard. So mental health, making sure we have check-ins with administrators, and making sure that we're professionals here for the students, as well as open dialogue. I want to make sure everyone's voices are heard. So thank you guys very much.
I want to thank you all for attending the Canvas debate night. It is 10:25. I would love to be in bed right now, but here I am. So thank you all so much for joining. Before you all leave, I'm gonna put the QR codes once more. That will be broadcasted up on the screen. Again, I hope everyone has a good night. Thank you so much.
All right. On home. There goes your mandatory. Buddy. Utility bill second, and how are those calculated? How are those calculated? Yeah. Do you pay utility bill? Nope. You pay utility bill, but